I can't do that. My name is David Menenberg, and I teach honors 10th grade humanities and public speaking. That's right, I'm the public speaking teacher, which makes me think that me being up here is some kind of practical joke. I keep that in mind and make sure to do what I tell all of my students, which is to take everything I say personally and always blame somebody else when something goes wrong. These misguided students, or at least a large enough portion of the electorate, have determined that I should be the faculty speaker, and for that I'm both humbled and honored. For everything I'm about to say, you had it coming. Now, before launching into my planned 45-minute tirade, I would like to take a moment and invite all the parents and grandparents, guardians, aunts and uncles, and other supporting family members to please stand and be recognized. Now remain standing for a moment. Without your guidance, thank you. Without your guidance, support, discipline, encouragement, gas money, car insurance, unlimited data and texting plans, and seemingly unending supply of food, there's no question that none of us would be here today. I'd ask you to remain standing, but please just raise your hand if you literally had to remind your graduate this morning of where today's ceremony was, or they wouldn't be here today. Anyone? Graduates, take note. Maybe next year the parents get a cap and gown. To my esteemed colleagues, we did it. We're finally getting rid of them. The hours, days, weeks, and months counting down to this moment, and it's finally here. To be sure, we all know at least a few of these kids. Parents, your basements are already ready, who will never leave. Incidentally, some recent studies in the real estate market have determined that a tastefully remodeled basement can yield a return on investment similar to many college four-year degrees, so something to think about. To the class of 2019, you have the distinction of being the very first group of students that I had here at Eastlake, and for that, you will always hold a special place in my heart. Feelings. Truly, though, you have endeared yourselves to me, and I'm even wearing the dad shoes that you bought and signed for me 2 years ago. By the way, these are the most comfortable pair of shoes I own. Dad, do you know what I'm talking about? Happy Father's Day. To the class of 2019, let me begin by reminding you what have I told my students more times than they care to remember. QI roll. Life, say it with me, is about choices, my friends. There are few days that I fail to remind my students of this timeless truth, and so it is fitting that on this afternoon I finally expand on what it actually means as you fine young people embark on the next chapter of your lives. Life is about choices. What is implicit in this pithy saying is that all of our decisions, from what we wear each day to who we choose to spend our lives with, are fraught with consequences. Though we may not always see or acknowledge this truth, every choice we make yields some result. A former student of mine once asked me, Mr. Menenberg, what about the times when we don't have a choice? What about when somebody makes a choice for us? No doubt we all can resonate with that question. Many of you graduates are here largely because of choices that were made for you or on your behalf. Maybe your family's moved here from somewhere else. Perhaps you lost someone close to you. Or maybe you didn't get into your dream school. You're going to find later in life, if you haven't already, that there will, for better or worse, be choices made that deeply and profoundly affect you that you will have little or no control over. What you do have control over, however, is how you respond to these circumstances. These choices will largely determine your fate. I remember bits and pieces of my own high school graduation, which took place in this very room many, many years ago. Most notably, I remember dozing off in the middle, only to be awakened by the student speaker crying hysterically while thanking her family in another language. Needless to say, it left a mark. But a lot has changed in the world since that day. This area has grown dramatically. I have a few more gray hairs and an allegedly receding hairline. But our culture has shifted in a lot of ways since then as well. With the advent of social media, there are now myriad influences vying for our votes, your likes, your choices. Many of these are working to advance the idea that the choices you make do not have consequences. It's someone else's problem. It's someone else's fault. Someone else will pay for that. All the while, we are conditioning ourselves to complain loudly about the slightest offenses and take little personal responsibility for affecting the change that we would like to see around us. I'm here to tell you today, my friends, that you have a choice. You can choose to mindlessly allow the currents of our culture to sweep you along. You can choose to take everything personally. You can choose to believe that the world is out to get you. You can choose to play the victim. You can choose to live your life feeling entitled and hope that your parents, your spouse, or maybe even the government will take care of your every need. Or you can choose to reclaim your agency. You can stand up and take responsibility, for better or for worse, for where you find yourself in life. How many speeches like this have you heard that tell you of all the world-changing differences that this class is going to make? I'm not going to stand here and tell you that you're going to change the world. The arrogance and self-importance that demands that your name or your class go down as the group that did X is preposterous. And frankly, it's a little too much pressure to put on you. If you ask me, let's be honest, we're a little delicate, aren't we? But you have been conditioned to believe that the world revolves around you. My friends, it does not. It is not all about you. No, I'm not going to tell you that you're going to change the world, because in many ways, you already have. The media feeds us this lie that only people like activists, politicians, business and community leaders, social media influencers, and dare I even say celebrities are the ones who change the world. But you have changed our world. You've left an indelible mark on the Eastlake community. You've taken stances, developed convictions, won hard-fought victories. You've forged relationships, suffered heartbreaks, setbacks, frustrations, and failures. This is life, my friends, triumph and tragedy. But the fact that you're still here is proof that you are making a difference. Getting to this room today was easy for some of you. I remember falling asleep during my high school graduation because I didn't think it was a big deal. My friends, it is a big deal. Many of your classmates seated around you did not find it so easy. I know firsthand of students in this class who barely made it here. Waking up and putting on clean clothes each day was a challenge. Sitting through 7 classes was a challenge. Dealing with anxiety and depression, or just fear in general, was a challenge. Saying goodbye to homeroom was a challenge. Managing schedules, projects, assignments, state testing, all the while trying to stay up on the latest social media trends, manage your social life, and have a foolproof plan for the rest of your life, it's a challenge. But you are here. You made it. And most of you are still awake. Well done. Some of you are leaving this place to go to college, some the military, some trade school. Some of you are going right into the workforce. A few of you lazier ones are taking a gap year. But whatever your chosen path, know that it can and will likely change in some way. When life happens to you, you will have a choice to make, my friends. I remember a time in my own life where I left my first career and found myself in need of a job. I had to take 2 part-time food service jobs before finding a full-time, 100% commission sales job in the middle of the recession. Nothing close to what I majored in college, by the way. Not to mention that I suffered a traumatic breakup at the same time. I had a lot to deal with. Needless to say, it was a pretty good time all around, but I had to learn a new trade, I had to deal with my heartbreak, and yes, for a month or 2, I even had to live at home with my mom. I had a choice to make. Standing still was not an option for me. I remember amidst the anxious nights and difficult months, 2 things grounded me: my family and my faith. Fast forward a couple years later, after meeting my future wife, I made the choice that I would course correct and forge a path that would leave some kind of meaningful legacy. This path led me to you, my friends. You are our legacy. Please don't screw it up. As I mentioned, I teach humanities, which comes from the Latin humanitas, meaning in addition to humanity, culture, refinement, education. Together, we've learned a thing or two about formatting a paper, Shakespeare, the Mongols. I've even tried to instill some fiscal responsibility in these young people. But all of you have been influenced by your teachers, all of your teachers, your families and your communities. These have all added to your humanity. Take this knowledge and endeavor to keep learning. Keep an open mind and an open heart, and you will find yourself and your life full and far more satisfying. Not only that, but you will have more to give those around you, and in so doing, your choices will change the world. Life is about choices, my friends. I'm going to close this afternoon with a poem by William Henley. This poem was read by Winston Churchill during the Blitz, as well as Nelson Mandela while imprisoned at Robben Island, among others. However, its 19th century author, wrote it during a 3-year hospital stay when he was trying to save his remaining leg. You see, as a teenager about your age, Henley suffered from tuberculosis of the bone and lost his leg below his leg and spent much of the rest of his life in excruciating pain. This was a man who could play the victim. Instead, he made a choice to not be defined by his circumstances. This is what he penned from his hospital bed. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Congratulations, graduates, and may you too become masters of your fates and the captains of your souls. Thank you. It has been my honor and my privilege.